Our scripture for today, Genesis 12, verses 1 through 3. Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." Welcome, Mike.
I know we missed the Lord's Prayer. Somebody once asked me, why do we do that every single Sunday? It's a very good question. Do you kind of know it by heart? We could do it. Or we can maybe back up the slides to the Lord's Prayer. Why don't we say Our Father, Mother, all right? Our Father, Mother, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. All right. Well, I'm thinking that when some of you saw that a reverend was presenting the message today, you thought, uh-oh, it's not going to be as short as Tom Ludwig does it. We shall see. You don't give a lot of time, though, with all the other wonderful parts of the service today. 8 years ago, I gave my first sermon here to you when I started as the interim pastor, after Pastor Carey and before Pastor Brian. It was my late wife, Kathy, who suggested to the denomination that the church should look into me as a possible interim. And so I'm grateful to her encouragement that we were here together for 15 months, and then Pastor Brian came. To some of you, I am new, but others of you remember that time. You may not remember the first sermon I gave, in which I spoke about transitions, the normality of life changes and the transitions that we experience, if not physically, psychically, and how we move from one place to another, one way of living to another way of living, one set of relationships to new relationships. And life is full of these transitions that was mentioned in the prayer time. The ending of summer, the beginning of school, those kinds of things, the ending of a job, the starting of a new job. Churches also have life transitions, and you're living through one now as a beloved pastor has left and you say goodbye. You've said goodbye, and now you're moving forward to find new leadership. I, as an individual, with the death of my wife a year ago, and you as a church with Brian leaving, share in a time of vulnerability as we move through these life changes. In a way, we all feel somewhat in a dramatic change like that, a spiritual crisis. And yet in the crisis is an opportunity for learning and growth. This is my first time leading a worship service in over a year. So I've turned down other requests, not feeling I was ready for it, but knowing you are such a loving group, I wanted to assist and to join in with other volunteers who have come forward to fill in this time. You are, and I also wanted to affirm you, because you're such a vibrant, wonderful, loving congregation. You are spectacularly special among congregations in the whole Madison area, in fact in the state, given my experience with congregations, not to put down any of those wonderful churches, but you are unique. You're healthy, you're vibrant, you're vigorous, you're full of wonderful people, and you're going to attract excellent candidates who want to join in the fun that is you, to join in the work and the mission, the tremendous mission services that you're about. That's why I said 8 years ago, you are between the no longer and the not yet. So you're making the best of that time now. In transitional time, we experience loss, and we know there's not a lot of time to be wasted looking backward, right? We need all the energy we can muster to move forward. Next slide, please. As I thought about transitions, I recall the truth that the very word Hebrew in the Bible is a person who's in transition. Hapiru is an ancient term used by the ancient Egyptians 3,000 to 4,000 years ago, and it was a derogatory term. These Hapiru were migrants. They were outlaws, they were fugitives, they were refugees, they were day laborers, they were people moving from place to place. And the people in power didn't like that. They weren't controllable. They had no legal standing in their country. One who migrates, a transient, someone who moves from one place to another, is in the biblical story. That's who the ancient Hebrews were. The Latin word migrate means literally the same thing as Hebrew, those who move from one place to another. And one definition of migration is humanity's ancient and ongoing experience with change and relocation. It occurs to me that we're spiritual descendants of those people, right? It's in the biblical story. Many of us are genetic descendants of people who have migrated, right? And therefore, as people of faith, this becomes an ethical and theological invitation for us to choose to welcome and support others who, for whatever reasons, need to migrate. Life is transitory, and we're ever moving from one place to another. And we gain confidence in these journeys when we recognize God is there. God is present. The very word confidence means what? With faith, right? Confidence, the confidence of that faith brings us the awareness of God's presence in all of the transitions that we experience. Next slide, please. During the past year, I took a number of international trips by myself, and I had to wonder, was I escaping my life in Wisconsin without my spouse, or was this a healing experience in my own transition? And so this is a picture of St. Stephen's Cathedral in Vienna, Austria, taken last April, 5 months ago. It was built in the 12th century. Gorgeous sanctuary. I went to Europe alone. I visited holy spaces in churches, in the cities, and in the art museums. And it was Good Friday when I was in Vienna, so I thought I need to get to a holy space. And went to this church, and it was full of tourists and tourist noise. You can see them all in the nave there. Next slide, please. And in the midst of all of that, I noticed a candle lighting area, and I noticed a quieter area for actual prayer. And it was Good Friday. I needed to pray. So I lit a candle for Kathy, which was a first moment of healing on the trip at that point. And I stepped into those pews and was quiet together. Next slide, just to show a close-up of the candles. I quieted, I sat straight like I had all of you do it, and I breathed in and out, and I said a prayer for her, and I felt her presence. And then I quieted myself even more, and I breathed in and out, and I emptied myself of all thought to be open. And who came to mind? Pastor Brian and all of you. I prayed for him to be blessed as he was involved in ministry here, and I prayed for you as you were involved in ministry together. I had no idea that a month later, after I got back, that he would announce his leaving. Isn't that how God works? Offering us insights, bringing people into our hearts when we take the time to pray, to be quiet, and to open ourselves to God's holy presence, to pray for those who are in transitions. Because I went to so many art museums, I really thought to preach here today, I actually had a 3 work of art message all developed, but I said that'd be a little bit too much. Next slide. But I wanted to share something from the travel. And this was, out of all the pictures I took in all the great museums I went to, this was the one image I wanted to share from the Art History Museum in Vienna. I've not seen anything like this before. 3 people completely engrossed in a work of art. No phones in their hands to take a picture. They're just absorbing what was in front of them. The focus of the attention of the man in the red cap, leaning forward to engage that work. And the affection of the 2 in the center spoke more than the picture, the painting itself. What were they looking at? Because I caught a glimpse of the painting, as you are right now, and I knew I was completely surprised because I'm familiar with that painting. It's called The Tower of Babel by Peter Bruegel the Elder, a Flemish Renaissance painter, 1563. And it's used in many books and book covers and illustrations and in museums to show Genesis chapter 11 when people made this tower, the Tower of Babel. I was surprised by the number of people who entered this room to look at that painting because I thought it was a rather obscure thing, and who pays attention to Bible stories anymore, right? It's quite a famous representation. There we go, with both of them side by side. The story in the book of Genesis is how God is completely impressed by people that are trying to build this tower in chapter 11. They wanted to make themselves a name. It's based on a historical reality. The Babylonian king during that time was doing this, building this Babylonian tower so people could worship him and his other elite friends and their power, and to say, this is the way life is. We are your rulers. You live in your relative poverty. So it's that story. And as I told you in a sermon a couple of years ago, which you all remember, because I showed you this picture then, God doesn't have any problem with technology per se. God gave the technical specifications to Noah for building the ark. But God has a problem when humans use technology to make themselves godlike. So that's where the ethical conversation begins. Now, seeing this picture and knowing what I was going to do here with you today, I got a completely different understanding of the story. It's an explanation. In Genesis, there's a lot of stories about, well, why is there a rainbow? Who invented metal tools? Why is there death? Why is there free will? All these questions are kind of answered in Genesis. Why was there an ark? Why was there a flood? Why are there different nations and different languages? That's how this story has been interpreted. But a new turn for me was, I see it as not just an explanation because God scattered people's languages and sent them out into the world. Not just an explanation of migration, which is a story of God sending peoples throughout the earth with different languages, cultures, and political realities. But it becomes a mission statement. Because the next chapter is chapter 12, and the call to Abraham and Sarah, which was the scripture that we read earlier. Abraham and Sarah are called by God to go from their homeland, to go from their land, from their families, and go to a different land where there's different peoples, different languages, different political realities, and what? Be a blessing to all the families of the earth. To be about the work of building understanding, forming cooperative communities that bless one another. The central mission of a transitory life. They, and by extension we, are called to be a blessing to all the families of the earth. Maybe that couple in the painting is a modern-day Abraham and a daughter, drawn into the story, reflecting on its wisdom and witnessing that while many changes bring great loss, they can also bring us together. What might seem to be the crumbling of the church at the leaving of a beloved pastor is indeed an opportunity for the community to come together in fresh ways and to continue the ministry and the work of the church that is now set before you. We are all called in our times of transition to keep moving forward, to seek one another's blessing and to bless others freely and widely, knowing that God is with us in these tender times. May you all know blessing in your journeys.